Hey everybody, welcome to the Wolterman Homestead. We are super excited this week to come back to you with this week's tour portion as my beautiful wife and me take you on
Bible study, Bible adventure.
Bible study. But first, I just wanted to take a few minutes to just say we love you guys and we appreciate you guys. And we are always praying over our fellowship, our friends, family, and loved ones. We thank you so much for taking the time out of your day or week to spend time with us, and we really appreciate that. And, I just wanted to spend time, too, to talk about, we apologized last week. It was really busy. We wanted to put up a video, but I think some of the kiddos were not feeling well.
Wow.
And we just had all the things, and it was really tough.
But that is a really good portion.
It was.
It
It
talks
was.
about
But we
Passover.
hope that you guys continued that, and just
Studied it and read
Studied.
it. I will say too. So I could go on. I love this portion of the Bible and this portion of Exodus. So I could just talk about it forever. But there is a blog on our website, and there might even be, I think there's a YouTube video of our family and how we celebrate Passover,
Yes.
because it was read part of the portion last week. It talked about Passover, so if that's something that you're interested in learning more about, feel free to go check those things out. And if you have any questions about Passover, you can also drop a comment down below, and we'd love to maybe try to find your answer.
Absolutely.
But this week's portion is number 16. It is Beshalach, which means after he had let go, which is just really beautiful. So this week's tour portion, there'll be a link down in the description that you can go look at the commentary if you want to, and even just listen, and it can read everything for you. So the Torah portion is Exodus chapter 13 through verse 17, chapter 17, verse 16. And then the prophet section is Judges chapter 4, verse 4 through chapter 5, verse 31. And the gospel section is Matthew chapter 14, verses 22 through 33.
Mm-hmm.
So, as we were sitting and talking about what we were going to read with you guys, and we've done it, I feel like a couple of times this week, just sat down and read and studied, and I laughed. I said, I want to read it all. But that would be a really long video, so we won't do that. But highly recommend that you go do that. But grab your Bibles, join us, and let's dive in. So we are reading from the Complete Jewish Bible. It's just a translation that we like. It's for Christians and Jews. There is a link down in the description if you want to go check it out. But read what you're comfortable with. Read what you understand and what you can digest.
Beautiful. Yep.
So I'll go ahead. Do you want me to start?
I'm gonna read this, and then you're gonna read the
that other portion?
Judges. Yes.
I wanted to read chapter 16 too.
Oh, well, you can read it all. That's fine. Hey, time with Yeshua is time always well spent.
That's fine. This is true.
Yes, and that's important. I just always want to throw that in there as much as I can, because I just mentioned last week how busy we were and how, a struggle. So, for all of us, we always every day, I have made it a fact to spend time with Yeshua. I do a daily devotional, and even when I'm at work, I read the Torah portions because not only does it lift me up, but also it just spending time with Him. It gets me through the day, because I think we all need that encouragement and just that love, Yeshua's love, to get us through. So with that, I will start reading.
He's going to start with chapter 13, verse 17.
All right. Balak. After Pharaoh had let the people go, God did not guide them to the highway that goes through the land of the
Philistines.
Philistine. Because it was close by, God thought that the people, upon seeing war, might change their minds and return to Egypt. Rather, God led the people by roundabout route through the desert by the sea of Suf. The people of Israel went up from the land of Egypt fully armed. Moshe took the bones of Joseph with him, for Joseph had made the people of Israel swear an oath when he said, God will certainly remember you, and you are to carry my bones up with you away from here. They traveled from Sukkot and came and set up camp in Etam. At the edge of the desert, Adonai went ahead of them in a column of cloud during the daytime to lead them on their way, and night in a column of fire to give them light. Thus they could travel both by day and by night. Neither the column of cloud day nor the column of fire at night went away from in front of the people. Adonai said to Moshe, tell the people of Israel to turn around and set up camp in front of Pi-hahiroth, between Megiddo and the sea, in front of Baal Tizphon camp, opposite it by the sea. Then Pharaoh will say that the people of Israel are wandering aimlessly in the countryside. The desert has closed in on them. I will make Pharaoh so hard-hearted that he will pursue them. Thus I will win glory for myself at the expense of Pharaoh and all his army. And the Egyptians will realize at last that I am Adonai. The people did as ordered. When the king of Egypt was told that the people had fled, Pharaoh and his servants had a change of heart toward the people. They said, what have we done, letting Israel stop being our slaves? So he prepared his chariots and took his people with him. He took 600 first quality chariots as well as other chariots in Egypt. Along with their commanders, Adonai made Pharaoh hard-hearted, and he pursued the people of Israel, and they left boldly. The Egyptians went after them, all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh with his cavalry and army, and overtook them as they were encamped by the sea by Pi-hahiroth in front of Baal Tizphon. As Pharaoh approached, the people of Israel looked up and saw the Egyptians right there coming after them. In great fear, the people of Israel cried out to Adonai and said to Moshe, was it because they weren't enough graves in Egypt brought us out to die in the desert? Why have you done this to us, bringing us out of Egypt? Didn't we tell you in Egypt to let us alone? We'll just go on being slaves for the Egyptians. It would be better for us to be the Egyptian slaves than to die in the desert. Moshe answered the people, stop being so fearful. Remain steady, and you will see how Adonai is going to save you. He will do it today. Today you have seen the Egyptians, but you will never see them again. Adonai will do battle for you. Just calm yourselves down. Adonai asked Moshe, what are you crying? Why are you crying to me? Tell the people of Israel to go forward. Lift your staff, reach out with your hand over the sea and divide it in two. The people of Israel advanced into the sea on dry ground. As for me, I will make the Egyptians hard-hearted, and they will march in after them. Thus I will win glory for myself at the expense of Pharaoh and his army, and all his army, chariots, and cavalry. Then the Egyptians will realize that I am Adonai. Then I won myself glory at the expense of Pharaoh, his chariots, and his cavalry. Next, the angel of God, who was going ahead of the camp of Israel, moved away and went behind them. And the column of cloud moved away from in front of them and stood behind them. It stationed itself between the camp of Egypt and the camp of Israel. There was cloud and darkness here, but the light by night there, so that the one did not come near the other all night long. Moshe reached his hand out over the sea, and Adonai causes the sea to go back before a strong east wind all night. He made the sea become dry land, and its water was divided in two. Then the people of Israel went into the sea on the ground, dry ground, with the water walled up for them on their right and on their left. The Egyptians continued their pursuit, going after them into the sea. All Pharaoh's horses, chariots, and cavalry. Just before dawn, Adonai looked out over the Egyptian army through the column of fire and cloud and threw them into a panic. He caused the wheels of the chariots to break off so that they could move only with difficulty. The Egyptians said, Adonai is fighting for Israel against the Egyptians. Let's get away from them. Adonai said to Moshe, reach your hand out over the sea, and the water will return and cover the Egyptians with their chariots and cavalry. Moses reached his hand over the sea, and by the dawn, the sea had returned to its former depth. The Egyptians tried to flee, but Adonai swept them into the sea. The water came back and covered all the chariots and cavalry of Pharaoh's army who had followed them into the sea. Not even one of them was left, but the people of Israel walked on dry ground in the sea, with the water walled up for them on their right and on their left. On that day, Adonai saved Israel from the Egyptians. Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the shore. When Israel saw the mighty deed that Adonai had performed against the Egyptians, the people feared Adonai, and they believed in Adonai and in his servant Moses. Wow. Isn't that exciting? And I'm going to go first because she talks too much. Just kidding.
You should. You
But
should.
what really, really excites me about what we just read about just when Adonai's people left Egypt, and right in verse 13, it says, Moses answered the people, stop being so fearful, remain steady, and you will see how Adonai is going to save you. He will do it today. Today you have seen the Egyptians, but you will never see them again. Adonai will do battle for you. Just calm yourselves down. How amazing is that?
You should add the footnote in too.
And the footnote, again, thank you. Remain steady. Used here means to report for duty. Like a soldier reporting for duty, awaiting his orders. The people awaited their time to march forward. What I just love from this little bit is just where Moses talked to the people and said, listen, do not be in fear.
Mm-hmm.
Do not fear the Egyptians. Do not fear the position that we're in. Adonai will protect us. And immediately what comes to me is Adonai loves his people.
Mm-hmm.
He loves us. And he stands strong for us. And I love where, we have to do the same for him. Because if we remain steady, he will not let us down ever. But he will go to battle for us. And I think that so many times, in like our everyday life, just to kind of compare to that, where, we feel like our backs up or are up against the wall, or we're at a sea, and how do we get across that? Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I was reading it this week and I thought, holy cow, this story is so true, so real. And the Adonai, we have to let him steer, go to battle for us. And if we do that, I just like where it says here, today you have seen the Egyptians, but you will never see them again. And I just sit there and think, in back to this story, when you read that, it's just so wonderful and so beautiful, where he's just saying, let me go to battle for you. Let me take care of this. Let me be there for you.
Yeah. And I mean, then they had just watched him perform all the plagues and do all of the amazing things that he did. And it's just so beautiful.
Yeah, it's just truly amazing. And just, I couldn't imagine in that moment, what Adonai's people were going through, with Moses and the staff being at the sea, and all of a sudden, parting the sea, what that experience could have been like, Adonai's just power, raw power, like, here it is. If this isn't enough, if you don't believe I love you and I'm not going to battle for you, then it just makes me think,
It always takes me back to the Prince of Egypt.
Yes.
And it's like, it's a cartoon version, but it's beautiful how they represented the staff hitting the ground and just the water parting and the people walking through.
Is.
And like whenever I read this and I look at it, I see a baptism of God's people coming out of their sinful nature and then being baptized and coming into knowing him. And they still make mistakes and they still do not so great things.
Mm-hmm.
But he offers them grace and he offers them forgiveness and he offers them his covenant. And it's just so beautiful with all of it.
It truly is.
I mean, even like in the beginning of what you were reading, and like right there at verse 17, like God didn't guide them to the highway that went through the land of the Philistines, even though it was close by. And then if we read down a little bit farther, they were already fully armed when they left Egypt. So they had the capability, and they also had God, but he decided to take them a different route because he wanted to build their faith in him and to claim the victory that he deserves in this entire story with the Egyptians. The last week's tour portion, the Almond House Fellowship did a really good video.
Oh, yeah.
And they just discussed the topic of hardening Pharaoh's heart and what that looks like. And so I'll leave a little clip video up here if you want to go watch it. But it was just really good as to, what the Bible says about our hearts and that God gives us the desires of our hearts. And oftentimes our hearts are wicked and deceitful. I believe that's Jeremiah. But that, Pharaoh made choices and we can make choices too.
Mm-hmm.
And we should just be mindful of the choices that we make. And, we can look at Moses and how he chose to follow after God, after the burning bush. And he even said, I'm not good with words. I'm not sure I can do it. But God equipped him. And then here he is, Dylan and I, when we were reading it the other night, I said, can you imagine the emotions and feelings that Moses had in this whole scenario of verse 26, where Adonai said to Moses, reach your hand out over the sea and the water will return and cover the Egyptians. And like we were talking of, what did that sound like? What did that feel like? Of, the mist coming off of the water, the screaming of the Egyptians, the horses, the metal clanking, the chariots crashing, just everything. And knowing that it's God's judgment on a people, on a nation.
Yeah.
And it's also like coming back around to, I've been talking about it the last several weeks
You've been talking a lot.
but of Genesis chapter 15, and I'll put a video up here too. But it's just that promise that God made to Abraham, and we're seeing it come back around, and it's just really, really beautiful. But I could keep picking stuff.
I could too, and like, continuing on. When you guys continue to read, we have hope that you will continue to read Exodus. But like chapter 15, it's just so beautiful. And I think you had mentioned something about this week about like a song or something.
I'll put a video link. That song that I shared with you the other day.
Thank you.
So, and that's what's really cool is chapter 15, verse 20, we see Miriam, which is Moses and Aaron's sister. And it's like the first prophetess that we see in scripture. the puppies. But that she takes the tambourine in her hand and she goes out with all of the women, and they're singing and they're dancing and they're giving God praise for his victory and for setting them free and for being faithful. But there's a video of a woman and she sings the entire song in the native language, and it's just really, really beautiful. So I'll leave that.
That's awesome. My beautiful wife, we are going to jump to chapter 16.
Well, I'm sitting here thinking, I love all of it. I want to read all of it, but it's just a lot.
There is some tidbits in here that she's wanting to add.
So, yeah, I'm going to start off with chapter 15, verse 22, and then I'm going to go on into chapter 16 because it's just really good, and I love this portion of the Bible. So, Moses led Israel onward from the Sea of Suf, and they went out into the Sahar Desert. And after traveling 3 days in the desert, they had found no water. And they arrived at Moriah, but couldn't drink the water there because it was bitter. And this is why it is called Moriah. Bitterness is what that means. The people grumbled against Moshe and asked, "What are we to drink?" And Moses cried out to Adonai, and Adonai showed him a certain piece of wood, which, when he threw it into the water, made the water taste good. There Adonai made laws and rules of life for them, and there he tested them. He said, "If you will listen intently to the voice of Adonai your God, do what he considers right, pay attention to his mitzvot, or commandments, and observe his laws, I will not afflict you with any of the diseases I brought on Egypt, because I am Adonai, your healer." So I'm just going to say, Yehovah Rapha in Hebrew is like God's name as a healer. So just think that thought. Anyway, so they came to Elim, where there were 12 springs and 70 palm trees, and camped by the water. They traveled on from Elim, and the whole community of the people of Israel arrived at the Sin desert between Elim and Sinai on the 15th day of the 2nd month after leaving the land of Egypt. There in the desert, the whole community of the people of Israel grumbled against Moshe and Aaron. And the people of Israel said to them, "We wish Adonai would use his own hand to kill us off in Egypt. There we used to sit around with pots of meat boiling, and we had as much food as we wanted, but you have taken us out into this desert and let the whole assembly starve to death." And Adonai said to Moshe, "Here I will cause bread to rain down from heaven for you. The people are to go out and gather a day's ration every day. But this I will test, whether they will observe my Torah or not. On the 6th day, when they prepare what they have brought in, it will turn out to be twice as much as they gather on the other days." Moses and Aaron said to all the people, "This evening you will realize that it has been Adonai who brought you out of Egypt, and in the morning you will see Adonai's glory. For he has listened to your grumblings against Adonai. What are we that you should grumble against us?" Moses added, "What I have said will happen when Adonai gives you meat to eat this evening and your fill of bread in the morning. Adonai has listened to your complaints and your grumblings against him. What are we? Your grumblings are not against us, but Adonai." Moses said to Aaron, "Say to the whole community of Israel, come close into the presence of Adonai, for he has heard your grumblings." As Aaron spoke to the whole community of the people of Israel, they looked toward the desert, and there before him the glory of Adonai appeared in a cloud. And Adonai said to Moses, "I have heard the grumblings of the people of Israel. Say to them, at dusk you will be eating meat, and in the morning you will have your fill of bread. Then you will realize that I am Adonai, your God. That evening, quail came up and covered the camp, while in the morning there was a layer of dew all around the camp. When the dew had evaporated, there on the surface of the desert was a fine flaky substance, as a fine frost on the ground. When the people of Israel saw it, they asked each other, Manna? What is it? Is what it means, so manna. Because they did not know what it was. Moses answered them, It is bread which Adonai has given you to eat. Here is what Adonai has ordered you. Each man is to gather according to his appetite. Each is to take an omer, or 2 quarts, per person, so that for everyone in his tent. The people of Israel did this. Some gathered more, some gathered less. But when they put it in the omer measure, whoever had gathered much had no excess, and whoever had gathered little had no shortage. Nevertheless, each person had gathered according to his appetite. Moses told them, No one is to leave any of it till morning. But they didn't pay attention to Moses, and they kept some leftovers until morning. It bred worms and rotted, which made Moses angry at them. So they gathered it morning after morning, each person according to his appetite. But as the sun grew hot, it melted. On the 6th day, they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers per person. And all the community leaders came and reported to Moses. And he told them, This is what Adonai has said. Tomorrow is a holy Shabbat for Adonai. Bake what you want to bake. Boil what you want to boil. And whatever is left over, set aside and keep it for morning. They set it aside till morning, as Moses had ordered, and it didn't have rot or worms. Moses said, Today eat that, because today is a Shabbat for Adonai. Today you won't find it in the field. You gather it 6 days, but on the 7th day is a Shabbat, and on that day there won't be any. However, on the 7th day, some of the people went out to gather and found none. And Adonai said to Moses, How long will you refuse to observe my mitzvot and teachings? Look, Adonai has given you the Shabbat. This is why he is providing bread for 2 days on the 6th day. So each of you stay where you are. No one is to leave his place on the 7th day. So the people rested on the 7th day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just so beautiful to see the Sabbath. You know, Dylan and I were talking about how these people were enslaved in Egypt for so long. They chased after the Egyptian gods. They would lose their children. They just, they lived horrific, hard labor lives. And they didn't get to rest. And so here God is, as soon as they come out of Egypt, giving them the chance to rest in him, and to see his provision over and over again, and to test them, and to build their faith, and to build their trust in him in this season. And I have in my Bible, there's little tabs all over the place. And it says, seeking for the people. And there's a number beside each one. And it's, the people grumbled constantly, complaining. And every single time, for the most part, Moses was kind and, tried to protect them and be a voice for them to God, and to, remind God, hey, let's have grace. Because there are several times where God's I'll just kill him. I'm just done. You don't deserve anything of what I've done. And the reality is, we don't. We don't deserve anything that God has done for us. We don't deserve the fact that Yeshua came, that Jesus came and died on the cross for us, that he wiped us clean, that we get to enter into paradise, that we get to have grace and have our sins forgiven. because he loves us. And the same God who loved these people, cared for them, provided manna and quail, cares about us, cares about our needs, whatever they are. He sees. He's El Roy, the God who sees. And to have that relationship with him is amazing. It's a day-by-day process. It's that picking up the cross daily. Yeah. What were you going to say?
I just think you talk too much. But anyway, I love you. I would love to get a few words in there, but I think what is so significant also is just, and I think this is so true, like when my wife was reading, but just he constantly provides for us in so many ways.
Jehovah Jireh.
Yes, read my mind.
He's our
provider. As I listened to her, I just think words that kept popping in my head, you know, Adonai will provide. Adonai will provide. You know, when they were starving and had nothing to eat, you know, and there was doubt, there was fear, and just like in the parting of the sea, you know, Moses said, hey, told them, no one is to leave any of it till morning, but they didn't pay attention to Moses, and some kept the leftovers until morning. It bred worms and rotted, which made Moshe angry at them. So they gathered it morning after morning, each person according to his appetite. But as the sun grew hot, it melted. So, you know, it goes to me, when I read that, it just, something that stuck out was trust in me, have a relationship with me. You know, he's telling his people to open your minds and listen to what I'm saying. And he's trying to work through Moses to provide for the Israelites, you know. And I just, you know, I think we all can relate to that so much. I think it's not only powerful, but it's very significant. So there's my tidbit.
It's good. It's beautiful. So I feel like that's kind of what we're going to leave you with this week, because we've chatted a while.
But we got to keep chatting more.
I know. I could just sit and chat all day. I wish I could have all these people to the house. We'll just have big Bible study.
I know.
So I will just share. So yeah, I've rattled off several different names of God. But in chapter 17, go read that one because that one's really good too. But Moses builds an altar and he calls it Adonai Nisi, which means Adonai is my banner. And like, what a name is that? That Adonai, that God is our banner and he provides for us. So we'll kind of leave you with that. Go read the Judges portion because it's about Deborah and it's just really good. And then go read the section there in Matthew because it's where Jesus walks on water.
Oh, it's absolutely
and he calms the storm.
Beautiful. But we love you guys so much. And I just wanted to say a simple phrase that keeps popping in my head. You know, reading what we read to you this week, you know, never forget that Adonai loves us and he provides for us. Let him provide for you. Let him go to battle for you. And I just think that is so significant. You know, let him do his works. Let him work through you, through people, other things around you. And never forget that. The Holy Spirit, yes. Because I think if we all do that more, even myself, because, you know, it's so hard to take things that are out of our control.
And let go.
And I think it's part of that, you know, don't push yourself off the cliff. Let Adonai catch you. Let Adonai be there for you. And I think if we do that, it will not only make a difference in our lives, but it'll also get us closer to him.
So it'll build and strengthen your relationship with him.
Foundation.
Yes. All right. But if you have any prayer requests, feel free to drop them down in the comments below. If you have any thoughts or anything, feel free to drop them in the comments below. But yeah, thank you for hanging out with us. and spending some time reading the Bible. We would love
Yes.
to see you back here next time.
So with that, Shabbat.
Shalom.
Shalom.
May Adonai bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you, and may he give you his shalom. Till next time.